Good evening, everyone. My name's Pete Woods, and you're watching Hexham TV. Hexham TV is an online community and news channel based in Hexham in Northumberland, and you can find Hexham TV on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Good evening, Sarah.
Good evening. Hello, everybody. As Pete said, it's wonderful to have so many people here from so many parts of the world. I know people who are here from Orkney, from Devon, from Kent, from France, Holland in particular, and further afield. So it's great. This is very exciting. It's the first time that we've done anything like this. And thanks very much to Pete for hosting this evening's event. And thank you very much also to Northumberland County Council, to Wendy Scott, and to the Wendy's set up a cultural Northumberland Cultural Fund, which has funded this project, which is great. So we're part of the Northumberland Great Winter Festival, the very end of it as we're about to go into spring. So lovely to see you. This project, this film that you're going to see, An Uncertain World, the origins lie about a year ago, just before we went into lockdown. I was setting up, planning with the Queen's Hall in Hexham, where the group is based, to run some workshops in May as part of the Age of Creativity Festival. It's a national festival that celebrates older people's creativity across the country. And we were going to run some drama improvisation workshops for people in Northumberland. Unfortunately, no sooner had they gone up online than they were cancelled because of us going into lockdown. And I thought, well, it's all right, it'll all be over by the autumn and we'll just do them, we'll meet everyone again in the autumn. And then as time went by and May approached, I thought, well, it's a bit of a shame actually not to try and do anything. We're all locked in our houses, we're in our little screens and in our bubbles. And so it's a real shame to not see what can we do with drama on a screen through Zoom. And I tried a few things out with some friends. We played around improvising, and then I decided, well, I can't do things face to face, but let's see what we can do online. And at the same time, I was having conversations with a very dear friend and theatre director in Holland, Loes Hegger, who is here with us tonight. And she was embarking on a project with a group that she'd been working with in Amsterdam. And they were looking at some of the history, some of the stories of the group as they were growing up in the 1960s and 70s, as they were living through that time. Again, a time of great change, great uncertainty, a time of the sexual revolution, of feminism, of lots of political things happening. So they started that investigation, and we thought, well, let's go in parallel with them and we'll do our own investigation, our own exploration of our stories of growing up in those times and compare and exchange our stories. So over the course of the year, the two groups have met together and had a number of exchanges with one another, which has been a wonderful international addition to the project. As time went by and coronavirus was clearly not going away, we decided, well, let's see whether we can put all this exploration, improvisation, playfulness that we've been creating into some kind of film, a film that we originally hoped we might be able to film, with people, even if it was little groups together in a space, but then that became not possible. So it's like, well, Zoom, let's see what we can record on Zoom. And Ken Patterson, who's a very lovely colleague of ours, TSF's for many years, came on board as editor. And Janet Longbottom, who you'll see in the film, started to compose some music that we've been able to use in the film. We also ran a poetry workshop with a poet, Linda France, from Northumberland, and together wrote a collective poem. So all these different people and these different aspects have come together, woven together to create this film that you're going to see now. As I said, it is made on Zoom, so obviously we don't have all the lights and sound equipment you would have in a normal film studio. So bear with that. Ken has done a wonderful job. I think this is edit number 11 that you're going to watch now. And we're looking at how do we live through these uncertain times? What do our stories from our past bring to us and help us to travel through on our journey through these times together? What are the good things that have come out of it? And what are the challenging things as well? So I think that's what I'm going to say. As Pete said, there'll be a Q&A afterwards where you can meet the cast and some of the people involved. Thank you to all the cast, of course. This is the first time that they've seen the film, so it's a kind of big experience for everybody. And do watch it full screen as well to enjoy it most. I think that's enough from me.
I miss seeing my daughter.
I miss hugging my friends and being in crowds.
I worry about my parents.
I miss my son.
I want to visit my friends and relatives.
I miss the unplanned pub lunch.
Can you share some chat with me? Can you share some chat with me and laugh and smile at this or that? I'll nod hello. Is that the key for you to share some chat with me? You passed me by, so you can see I am alone in window sat. So can you share some chat with me and laugh and smile at this or that?
I'll tell you what I want, what I really, really want. I hate Banana Skin Dropper. He does it every day. I hate the lies history rewrites, evasions and U-turns. I loathe Johnson smirks, his bluster and his blather. I hate the cyclists that don't ding or even shout to overtake. I want the feta cheese, not salad cheese I ordered online. I want to chat in a cafe over coffee with my friends. That's what I want, what I really, really want. Tell me what you want, what you really, really want.
I hate that I'm addicted to coronavirus news. Boris boasting and blagging really bothers me. Not protecting old people in their homes, hypocrisy. I long for days when we brush shoulders and say, oops, I'm sorry, and pamper days and a soak in a warm, steamy jacuzzi with a pal. That's what I want, what I really, really want. So tell me what you want, what you really, really want.
I want to go to Ireland to hug and love my family. I yearn to meet my friends and drink a cappuccino. I need to go shopping. I need to buy a dress, a red dress, a blue dress. It's got to be a new dress. That's what I want, what I really, really want.
Elizabeth, have you always liked buying dresses?
I think I've always liked dresses. Like a lot of Irish families, we had an uncle in America. One day when I was about 18, a parcel arrived, and in it was the most beautiful red dress. Oh, I felt so grown up and glamorous when I put this on. I've never had a little black dress, but I've had a number of little red dresses and other dresses too. I think it's always about celebration for me. Like recently, for President Biden's inauguration, I went and had a shower, washed my hair, put on makeup, perfume, jewelry, even earrings, and a lovely blue dress. And I went, got my glass of Prosecco and joined in the celebration.
So, Jan, have you always been involved in music?
Well, I was 15, maybe 16 in 1969, when I finally cracked that 2-chord change on the guitar. Moving on from 2 chords opened up a whole new world of music for me. It was a portal to those parties where people listened to live music in one room. Then, resting my fag on the end of my guitar, I'd sing my songs of protest. It was a year of protest. Was anybody else involved in protests?
I was 18 in 1974 when I sold The Socialist Worker on the university campus. 1974 was a time of political activism, student unrest, sit-ins and occupations. We dressed in looms and cheesecloth, had long hair and beads, and said peace and love to all our friends. My boyfriend then liked to be known as Trotsky, and we would chew over for hours which should come first, socialism or feminism.
I was 23 in 1980 when I joined protests against the British National Party, racism and nuclear armaments. I was confronted by the police on numerous occasions for trespass and fly posting. And I was removed from Orrery Fylingdales with a bunch of other women for protesting peacefully.
I remember I was 13 in 1968 when I woke up. This is the BBC News. Students riot in Paris. None, none, none. Why? What's happening? Will I go on a demo when I'm at uni?
So did you, Susan? Did you go on any protests when you were at university?
Bradford University. Anti-Nazi League marches through the city centre. But I didn't join the minibuses going down to the London March. We'd been warned that the National Front were going to be violent. I had friends who were hurt there.
I think protests can be loud and collective or small and personal. I was 22 in 1979 when I took a journey to Holland to undertake the annual Nijmegen March. I was quite excited. Hadn't been abroad much. I got some huge blisters on the daily 35k trek. I had to have them treated with iodine. Some of the military teams were quite lewd and they tried to push me out of the way. But I stood my ground and I finished the march, unlike some of the guys.
We were fortunate when we were young, because although the world was full of uncertainties, we were able to go out and explore. Our lives were full of possibilities and opportunities.
Travel is both exciting and full of unknowns when you're young. I was 23 in 1967 and flower power was everywhere. It was the summer of love. I'd finished my teaching degree and everywhere was full of promise. My friend and I decided to cross over Europe to Greece. When I stepped off the ferry, it was very hot. It was a different world out there. We camped in some strange and sometimes dangerous places.
Yes, travel can be dangerous, but it's also a great opportunity to get out and meet people, discover different cultures, and experience a different way of life.
In 1979, I went to Cuba. It was at the time of the American embargo, and the only thing that was in the shops was tobacco, sugar, and rum. But despite this, I absolutely loved the hedonistic atmosphere.
I was 24 in 1978 when I travelled overland to Czechoslovakia, behind the Iron Curtain, to a little place called Český Krumlov. It was my first international work camp, and we spent 2 weeks cutting down trees to allow the light into the rare orchids below. At midday, the scent of silver birch sap mingled with that of Czech dumplings. I met people from all over the world. In the evenings, lively multi-languages flew round the campfire and we sang songs.
I was 24 in 1986 when I went travelling around India with a friend from work. One morning, we went to Grand Central Station in Bombay. There were bodies lying everywhere, all over the platforms, lying on mats waiting for their trains. We leapt onto a suburban train. It was very crowded, but once we'd settled, we realised we were the centre of attention. Lots of peering eyes and jeering, all male. The penny dropped. We were in a men-only carriage. As soon as the train stopped, we leapt off, ran down the platform, and luckily found a calm and quiet women-only carriage. Phew.
I was 18 in 1976, and I volunteered to work on a kibbutz in the desert in South Israel. I wanted a break from education. The working day on the kibbutz began before sunrise, and it carried on until after lunch to avoid working in the heat of the afternoon. And at night, the wire fence around the perimeter of the kibbutz was patrolled by armed men. I arrived full of ideals and with little political knowledge, but by the time I left the kibbutz, I had a sobering understanding of the complexities of living in this land.
Love. Sugar.
Lights.
Hearing.
Break.
Hot.
Rum.
Dumplings.
Crowded.
Work.
Dangerous.
Tobacco.
Český Krumlov.
Phew.
Ideals.
I think the 60s and 70s largely passed us by in Ireland.
We didn't have the same opportunities for travel.
And it was a time of great upheaval. I was 23 in 1969.
I was 10 in 1969.
I was standing in my mother-in-law's kitchen in Belfast.
I was listening under the bedclothes in Belfast.
My mother-in-law rushed in and shouted, "You must leave now. There's going to be trouble tonight."
It was a warm summer's night at my granny's house.
"There's going to be trouble."
But the sounds of Belfast had changed.
That night, people took to the streets in Belfast and Derry.
There was shouting, lights in the sky, gunfire.
The Troubles.
The Troubles?
The Troubles had begun.
The Troubles had just become real to a 10-year-old.
I suppose the Troubles were in some way rather like now with the virus, even though the virus is invisible. But there was the same sense of uncertainty, fear in the air. When will we be able to go out?
We may not be able to go out and travel about literally, but we can travel virtually. The pandemic has been positive in encouraging us to do that. I'm walking virtually with my good friend Sue in Connecticut. She's on her treadmill and her exercise bike, and I'm walking from home. We've just completed the Hadrian's Wall Challenge, 90 miles in just over 30 days. We're planning to do the Camino de Santiago next. Has anyone else made online connections with people from other countries through this pandemic?
Well, yes, actually I have. I made a new friend who's American, who lives in North Carolina, and I met her on a plane traveling to Greece. And she's a poet and I'm an artist, and we have kept in contact ever since. She sends me photographs of her bees and her chickens that she keeps, and I sent her photographs of the chicken, the only living thing that's actually visiting my studio at the moment. But what's been really exciting is that we both watched together the recent USA inauguration of Joe Biden. And what was intriguing is that it transpired later, Jeanette told me, that in fact I was seeing the inauguration ahead of her because they had a delayed transmission because they were worried about the riots. It's a really nice friendship. We talk about literature and art and politics, and it's been very sustaining in the COVID.
My daughter, Laura, who lives in London, and I have been doing art and wildlife drawing classes together on Zoom. On her 30th birthday, we did a Wolf Cub drawing sessions with friends from around the country, including Leeds, Liverpool and Kent. We've also been having big family Zoom gatherings with family in Canada. Relatives closer to home in Ireland have heard about these and asked if they can join in too.
It's great to be able to speak with people from across the globe. I really enjoyed meeting some like-minded women from Holland. We've been comparing our lockdown experiences and our government's responses to the pandemic. And of course, Brexit.
Hello.
Hi.
So nice to meet you this winter. A winter with COVID and of course Brexit. Here's a little poem for you. Like a bridge over troubled water.
With or without EU, I still see you. As my love, to lose you hurts like hell.
For you're beautiful, and I've loved you dearly. More dearly than the spoken word can tell.
I know I have no voice nor referendum to tell you to remain or go away.
But these songs of love, I don't know how to end them, if not by simply asking you to stay.
Some might say, I'm better off without you. But I've known you for so long and oh so well.
and think you're beautiful, and I have loved you dearly, more dearly than the spoken word can tell.
For you are beautiful, and I have loved you dearly, more dearly than the spoken word can tell.
Bye-bye.
Lovely to hear your
Keep
stories.
walking. See you
Lovely
soon.
to
Thank
hear
you
your
so
stories.
much.
Stay safe. Lovely.
It's been great finding out what the Dutch people have all been up to and compare and contrast it with ourselves, like appreciating nature more on our walks, one-to-one coffees in the park, decorating beautiful plates with mosaics, writing poetry, and even a book. So what have you all been up to keep yourselves going during this time?
This is Skylark. It's a wood engraving inspired by the poem by William Wordsworth. During lockdown, I sent it to Grayson Perry for his lockdown art club. I forgot all about it. I didn't expect it to be chosen. I was watching the programme early in the series when suddenly there was Skylark on the screen with my name. I nearly fell off my chair.
Well, I really like going out every day for a walk. And I make these little videos if the conditions are right, of places that I visit and shadows. And I'm collecting throughout the year a whole series of shadow dances which document my year.
I've been busy during lockdown finding out more about my Geordie ancestry. I knew my mother was born in Newcastle in 1928, but I knew nothing about her father's family, and I never met him because my grandparents divorced during the war. With a little help from the Northumberland and Durham Family History Society, I soon got proficient at researching births, deaths and marriages records online and looking at census details. I now know a lot more about my Tyneside heritage.
I've been doing a lot of baking. I found my granny's old cookbook. She was a fantastic baker. And I love looking through all the well-worn pages and trying out her favourite recipes. Chocolate sandwich, butter sponge looked to be her favourites. And I can see all the cakes and the biscuits and the tarts that she would make for us Sunday tea time. And it takes me back to those happy family times. And I know baking has brought me great joy through this lockdown. And I think it brought Granny great joy during her difficult times, like the Troubles. It gives us a connection.
basically, and things that I found around the house.
Although I miss listening to live orchestras and making music with others, I think I appreciate more what I have when my world becomes smaller. I've discovered new places on my doorstep when stepping out in my local fields, parks and streets.
I agree. We don't have to travel far to find pleasure. I hope that we can quickly rely much less on oil and stop destroying our planet. I will continue to refuse to fly, and I will recycle big time.
Talking about recycling takes me back to my childhood, living on the coast in Cornwall. It was the early 1970s, and holidaymakers flocked to the beach each day to swim, sunbathe, and swig brightly coloured fizzy pop called Corona. At the end of the day, I'd go down onto the sand and sift through and collect up the large dimpled Corona bottles to take back to the beach shop. I got tuppence for each bottle I found. Lucrative business for an 8-year-old. And now, breaking news. Global leaders to meet in Cornwall for G7 summit. My ears pricked up. The newsreader said, Carbis Bay. Carbis Bay? That's the beach. That's my beach. I'm really hoping that the golden sands of Carbis Bay will inspire those world leaders to dig really deep for some great environmental plans to help save our planet post-pandemic.
So do I.
Absolutely.
We have reflected on the past, explored new possibilities in the present, and look forward to a different and changed future. We share our thoughts in this poem that we have created with poet Linda France. It's called The Heart is Where Home Is. Sometimes we dig in our pockets and the past comes back to us. Where we lived, what we did, there in the grains of sand embedded in the seams.
We remember a kiss on the cheek at bedtime, the cocoon of music, the same record over and over again, dancing like a wild thing.
Down the long, dark corridor, slant breaths of sunshine, the smell of cedar. Then we're on the floor, reading, a door into another world.
Cigarette smoke turned the wood chip ceiling yellow. A room we called home, somewhere to belong. Light pouring in at the window.
Sometimes we dig in our pockets and see who we are today. Find tissues, dog treats, a paperclip, and balm for our lips, for all the words unsaid.
We juggle mobile phones, must-haves and compromises, jigsaw pieces, footsteps in the sand, the complete works of Wordsworth. Listen to the night trains whistling.
We find homes for all our stuff, for kindness, a cup of tea in bed. Hunt for glasses, those we read by and those we lift and clink when we can.
Keys jangle, jackdaws huddle on the chimney pot. It's quieter than we'd like, but there's room to be. Make mum's marmalade. Breathe sunlight.
And sometimes, looking for something else, we discover the future in our pockets, all that we wish for. Seedlings uncurling towards the light, birds in springtime.
We look in its polished mirror, see stained glass windows, a sturdy wooden staircase, fragrant with thyme and beeswax, and all the world's children climbing.
At the top of the stairs, a door opens into hills and sky, where we can spin, fly, feel a lightness, freedom, our favourite walk, our loved ones singing inside us.
Before we go, we'll leave this note in the pocket of the future about staying at home and coming home, breathing underwater, pulling through each stroke as we head downriver.
Throughout our lives, there are times of difficulty and uncertainty, but there's also excitement and discovery and joy. I am really looking forward to the day when I will go out, buy a new dress and wear it to visit my family in Ireland. I haven't seen them for so long. In the meantime, here's a message to my children and my grandchildren and all the young people out there. Life is precious. Enjoy it. Live every moment.
The world has an array of wonderful things to offer you. You just might have to walk a more unexpected path.
Nothing stays the same. Everything changes. Enjoy the journey.
Enjoy nature and look after it.
Let your enthusiasm shine through.
Improvise and do something for somebody else.
Be kind to yourself and take your time.
Together, we can change things for the better.
Be bold and fight for the future you want.
Let's change things.
Walk that unexpected path.
Live and enjoy.
To the future.
Age.
Improvise. Enthusiasm.
Wonderful.
Enjoy.
Good to meet you.
Wonderful to meet you.
Great to meet you.
Oh, great to see you.
Always let your sun shine.
Let's visit.
Bring on those chicklets.
Cheers. To your very good health.
Let the sun shine. Let the sun shine in.
Keep
Let
smiling.
the sun shine in.
Always let your sun shine.
Yes.
Let the sun shine.
Let the sun shine on you.
Bye.
Baby moi.
Bye.
See you.
Thanks to everybody. Thank you for watching. It's very strange because we can't see you out there, but we feel that you're with us. And thank you to the wonderful cast and all their commitment, which has been absolutely fabulous over the whole time. And also, I should say there are other people in the background, other people who've contributed photographs and stories who so thank you to them as well as the people that you've actually seen on the screen. And thank you also to all the Dutch people for their wonderful part in it as well. So Ken did all the editing. And also, I forgot to say at the beginning, plays the cello in our music. And Jan, who's just putting a thumbs up there, is our composer and keyboard player. So fantastic. And then Diane is in the middle. I don't know if you're all in the same place that I can see. I have Diane in the middle. Do you want to wave, Diane? And Sheila, you've all seen them all. Sheila below Ken and Elizabeth at the bottom. So Henk is asking if Henk is the musician, the Dutch musicians, the Dutch group's musician, and is asking whether Janet and Ken did everything online. Could you come together to play? I don't think so. Do you want to say, Ken, and Jan, how you did the music?
Go on, Jan. It's you tell them.
No, we weren't allowed to. So basically, I messed around on the keyboard and put it onto my software and sent it over to Ken, and he's got different software, which wouldn't read my software very well. But then Ken added the cello as well, and it sounds fantastic. It made such a difference having that mellow cello.
So Judy is asking, how did you find working on Zoom?
Well, I think it's difficult it's difficult to get, initially it was difficult to get the connection with each other. But actually before very long, I think within a couple of weeks, within a couple of sessions, we really became very familiar and very relaxed with each other. And, you know, we were kind of confident that if we made a botch of something, Sarah was going to record it again. So, you know, that took off the pressure, really.
It was also lovely because we recorded individually. So Sarah recorded our stories and all our bits individually. And then we also recorded them in our little scenarios. And it was interesting to see how Ken has taken some of those individual bits and then some of the group shots. And it just was seamless. It was great, Ken. Thank you.
He's also able to zoom in, even when you're in a group like this, he's able to zoom in and take it as if it's an individual one. So there's a lot of mixing and matching.
I know, it's just, yeah.
So Naya's asking when we started working on it. And we started playing around with the stories and the ideas and exploring the 60s and 70s in May and June. And then we had a break over the summer and came back together again in the autumn and started exploring, I think because Carol, who was in the next group, hopefully, in her reminiscing about or thinking about the 60s, she talks about going to Greece, her journey to Greece. And that was very lovely story, taking us into that other world, other culture. And that's sent us off in that direction of exploring other journeys that people had been on and the impact it had on themselves. Diane wants to say.
Yeah, I think you'd think Zoom is quite strange to make a film on it. Well, it is, because you've got to look at the camera light all the time. But I think it's meant that we've been able to get to know each other really well and have a little box to ourselves, which is really nice. But I've learned so much about other members of the cast, and I've learned that I've been consorting with a rabid bunch of socialists like myself, thieves and ne'er-do-wells, but they have hidden depths, and I've learned that on Zoom.
Where did the idea originate? Luce, you were the one who started with the idea.
Yeah, we were just rehearsing 3 times before COVID came to create a real show, and this was about the stories about the 60s and the 70s, because I'm very fascinated about history, and the people, we are witnesses, if I say the right word, of that time, and there were big changes. Then we had to stay home, and then so from that came the idea to find the connection between the stories of that time and now that everybody is locked up home. Can I say something about our collaboration?
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was thinking after yesterday, because yesterday Sarah and Sheila, they were with us in our meeting. And it was really, for me, a big surprise how easy it was to connect with all of you, your group, Sarah, and this was for all my people the same. We were very excited. Yes, now we know other people, although we are home and we cannot travel and so on. But therefore, the bridge is really, we all took pictures of the bridge, but we felt it like that. And I think it came because of Sarah, you and me, we know each other for so long, and we have a common theatre language through Monica Pagneux, and a long desire to work together. And we did work each week, we prepared. And each week I said, oh, we are crazy to do this through Zoom. No!
We kept each other going. Spirit kept our spirits up when we were going, oh, what do we do next? How do we do this?
I was so happy to share with you, and that I was not alone to discover this whole adventure. That's one part. The other part is that both you and me, we are lucky to work with really fabulous women. You are all very lively and with humor and willing to do all adventure. And also, I think the last thing is that what was very strong, that you in Britain, Northumberland, we in Amsterdam, we were the same. Everybody locked down in his room at home, and to be open up the horizon, and that we can reach each other. That was such a big relief for us. I think that's a very beautiful part of this project. Yeah.
I wanted to, Sarah or Melinda, do you want to say anything?
Yeah. Interestingly, my passport ran out in lockdown last May. And so it was absolutely fantastic to meet people from Amsterdam. It's a place I've been to several times before and I absolutely love it. So it was just amazing to kind of, again, with reminiscences, I could soon be transported back to Amsterdam. So, yeah, it was super for me.
I mean, I suppose the thing that, with speaking to the only gentleman in Amsterdam and some of the ladies, was that we both concurred on the fact that because we were artists, we quite enjoyed being able to concentrate on the work, so that we both were actually in effect enjoying lockdown.
Yeah,
because Melinda, I think hopefully it's clear to me, but the beautiful painting which became our poster image. Is done by Melinda and is in her studio, and you saw her painting it. So so she's an artist, and Henk obviously in Amsterdam as a musician, and it just so happens that we've got and Carol, who unfortunately doesn't seem to have managed to get in, but it's the wood engraving. So we've got some very talented people. And then people who've discovered art skills they didn't know they had before. So Sheila's done all her online drawing and painting, and
amazing.
And Diane with her recycled art. So some wonderful things. So there's an interesting question here. Sorry, just moving on from Sophie, who I know who's an actor from France, and Sophie's asking whether we consider the 70s were an uncertain open world and now is an uncertain closed world. I guess, it's an interesting thing we haven't really talked about. I don't know if anyone's got any thoughts about
I suppose, your point about international, the internet and being able to contact people. So in a way, it's more closed, but in a way it's more open because you can contact people all over the world and have conversations. And like I watched the inauguration with my friend in America, which would just not have been possible in the 70s.
And we would never have made this project if it hadn't been for COVID. Actually, when it comes down to it, Luce would have been doing her work in Amsterdam. I'd have been doing whatever we were going to do here, and we might have chatted, once in a blue moon. But this has come. COVID has very directly sort of led to this project happening. So there are positives, I suppose, within the closure. In terms of uncertainty, I guess, that going out when you're in your 20s is full of uncertainty and not knowing where you're going, and excitement and adventure and learning about new cultures. And that helps to form who we become. And then I guess how we deal with uncertainty in these times as well. Interesting.
But we discussed, we heard the stories of Ireland, the two women who were, and for us it was, whoa, they were in wartime at that time. We were not aware of that. So it was the difference in the same time. Here in Amsterdam, it was freedom and hush and all that stuff.
So it still is.
So we had a lot of discussions after we heard the stories.
Bridget saying yes. Things that we did, like Jan looking sideways at the Zoom window and Diane looking up. So we did play around with, because you can move people around on Zoom. I don't know if anyone's aware that whoever's the host can actually move everybody around and then tell people where they are. And then we did play around with saying, well, if you turn your head sideways, it looks like you're looking at the person, or look up. So we did try and experiment a little bit with that. It's hard to do it without it becoming a little bit contrived, but we kind of explored what we can do in these boxes beyond sitting and talking. Anyone else like to? Franz, what happened when?
Well, in Holland, we had a lot of technical problems to get used to Zoom. It was, am I in? No, I'm not in. Can you hear me? No.
That's that, How to hide your camera, how to hide yourself. And
a lot of you're muted. No, I'm not muted.
And then putting people into breakout rooms. We did a lot of rehearsal in breakout rooms. So then that was a whole kind of other thing, exploring, getting in and out of the breakout room.
That was great fun because, often we'd be sent off into our breakout rooms and we'd end up chatting about just, general things, getting to know one another more than rehearsing our parts. So, that was good.
And then I'd say, have you got something to show us? Well, maybe next week. Here's Sheila.
Hello, hi.
Hey, well done.
Got here.
So, would you like to add anything, Sheila, to what we've been talking about?
I heard a lot of the chat. Just, I suppose, for me, the poetry, I really enjoyed that. Found that, there was such a lot. It was tremendous, sort of like, you know, journey. But I really enjoyed the poetry as well. I think that was so nice, and meeting the people from Amsterdam, and you know, I don't know if I've met everybody in our own cast virtually or in reality now. I can't remember. It's all mixed in because I had met some people before, but some people I hadn't met before. So you know, it just, you did get very used to it eventually.
Oh, there was a strong socialist through line. Was that planned? No, it came out. It was a discovery. We didn't plan it at all. It's just came out through people's stories. We started at the very beginning. Luce had with her group, she'd got some themes which were about style, ways of living, housing, sexuality, I suppose, and experiences of sexuality, feminism, first wave feminism, second wave feminism rather, in the 60s, experiences of music, culture, education, and we brainstormed words under each of those themes. This is going back a long time now to last May, and that was our kind of starting point. And then from those words, people chose a word, and that kind of act as a catalyst for a story that they wanted to tell. So maybe the fact we're going back into the 60s and 70s, that was a time of lots of political, like Susan, who can't be with us tonight, but her story of waking up and hearing about the students rioting in Paris in 1968, that lots of the stories from that time maybe were about kind of politics or change. I mean, Sheila's stories about from university, isn't it? From studying the socialist worker. I don't know if you want to say any more about that.
Yeah, I think we were just saying that people were quite militant and quite expressive, I think, really. You know, I think we all wanted to say, well, we've all mellowed a little bit with the years as well. But there was a theme there, but not intentional. No. Mm.
Yeah, it wasn't planned, but it came out, I guess. No. It was a discovery. And then people are, you know, lots of people are doing things for the environment now, and kind of maybe not campaigning as I think as Diane says, you know, protests can be big and it can also be small, and people are doing lots of, we didn't come into the show, but lots of online campaigns for different things that people feel are important to them. So here's a question about, did we know one another beforehand? Did everyone know one another? So I'm in the process of doing a PhD, trying to write a PhD, which is about creativity and theatre practice, in particular the work of Monica Pagna, who we trained with, and the impact on older people's creativity and their health and their well-being. So everybody who's involved in the show, I am very grateful to, as they have been in the past participants as part of my PhD research. So Elizabeth and Jan were in one group, and everybody else was in another group, the Hexham group. And so, but again, through Zoom, people have been able to come together and meet together. So that's sort of origins of it. And Margaret's asking about working on the poem. Yes, I know what I was going to say earlier, is Linda unfortunately can't be with us tonight because she's at a seminar for something else. She's a climate writer in residence for Newcastle University, so she has a meeting tonight. Yeah, we worked on the poem. Do you want to talk about either Shell or Sarah about how we did the poem?
Yeah, I mean, it was really a sort of brainstorming session where we sort of, reflected on how lockdown had affected us and what sort of memories it had conjured up. So initially there was a much longer poem, which then Linda obviously went back and shortened. So the final version was the second version. But so it sort of evolved through brainstorming and really recounting certain sort of personal anecdotes But I think it came together.
We read a poem together, which Linda had brought, which was about pockets. It's by an American poet. I can't remember.
Oh, yeah.
It was but it was about having, your past, present, and future in your pockets. And we wrote down what we would have in our pockets, and then thought about houses and rooms in the house where we would find ourselves. The room in our house, which would be our past, and the room in our house for our present, the room in the past for the room in our house for our future, and wrote that down. And then we kind of collected everybody's thoughts together. And Linda was the one who then kind of crafted it into the poem that Sarah said it was a much longer one. And then I said, well, that's a bit too long for the whole piece. So then there was a second editing of it.
But there's a question there from Penny about how did the music get composed? Which
that's really well for Jan. Well, Jan was walking around, doing walks, and she started writing little phrases of fragments, I think, of music from the walks that she'd been on. I don't know if you want to say anything else, Ken.
Yes, and she put it all into MIDI in Sibelius, which is the music software, notation software, and it was needlessly shy about her playing, I think, but she liked to know that it was all sorted there, and sent that information to me. And then I improvised the cello parts initially, and then went from improvisation into those parts being fixed. So it was quite a rapid process, really, in many ways, because Janet had done all the work. She did 90% of the work, and I just then recorded to what she had provided. I think it's very effective. So it's lovely.
Kind of happened quite organically, because it wasn't like I'd said to Jan, can you be the composer for this piece? Jan came and brought this, sent us these little fragments of music, these poems, we called them music poems, that she'd done, and then thought, well, it'd be wonderful, because I knew we wanted to have music in the show. So it's much better than having just recorded music by somebody else, to have music that really kind of creates that atmosphere and binds everything together.
Great.
Can we move on to the stage? Well, yes, originally I did think it would be a wonderful, I thought we would do this on the stage. Who knows? I don't know. Sometimes you think you can, and then time moves on and you feel, it's of its time, and that's where it's kind of, we talked about it, it's kind of an archive of, bringing together an archive of people's experiences living through these uncertain times, these strange times. And maybe that's where it stays. We'll see when we come out of it all the other end.
So we've had many comments about how wonderful this evening's been, and about the wonderful performances, both from everyone involved in this project. And it's been really heartwarming. I'm sorry I couldn't get to all the questions and all the comments, but I've tried to pick out as some pertinent ones, and hopefully it's given a flavour of the sort of reception that this project has received, which has been wonderful.
Yeah, and thanks to Pete, it's been great. We've done little things with Pete before, but nothing quite on this scale. So it's all new, it's all challenging, it's all exciting. So thanks to Pete, and thanks to Luz for her inspiration and support, and Ken for his commitment to doing yet another edit of things, and the cast have been absolutely fabulous, and everybody else who's helped in whatever way they have contributed to this. And thank you, all of you out there, for watching tonight. It's really lovely. And it would be great if you want to send any other thoughts, comments, do send them to me. My email is Sarah, as you can see on the thing, at tsf.org.uk. So quite easy to remember. But many thanks to everybody. And if I've forgotten anyone, thank you to you as well. Please don't feel forgotten, because you're not. Thank you very much. Thanks, everyone.
Good night. Well done, sir.
Yes.